Well, we are back for another episode of Hospo Happy Hour, proudly brought to you by Hospo For Life and Warner's Distillery. In our show today, we will be discussing food and mood and how what you eat affects how you feel. And for last drinks, we will be joined by industry leader, Chef Adam Moore. Let's get started. On the show for the first round today, we have Jessica Defendi joining us from Altius Group. Jessica is a registered psychologist and principal consultant at People Sense by Altius, who is passionate about mental health and holistic well-being. Jessica's clinical practice is diverse, working across the lifespan with a range of different presentations while also facilitating workshops and training to organisations on mental health topics. Welcome to Hospo Happy Hour, Jessica.
Thanks so much for having me, Liam. It's great to be here.
My pleasure. So tell me, how does what food you eat really affect your mood?
Yeah, well, look, it's a really interesting topic and a topic that's coming to the forefront more and more. I think maybe before we look into how one influences the other, I think one has to raise the question of whether one even influences the other. So, is there a connection there? For me, having spent some time in the hospo industry myself back in the day, coming from a traditional Italian family based around food as well, I can definitely relate to the importance food has in our lives. But from the perspective of a psychologist, there is certainly a connection between food and mood. I mean, if we think about, the best burger we've ever eaten in our lives, can't help but smile, feel a little bit uplifted probably, even experience a moment of kind of pleasure as well in itself, right through to as well the, I guess the connection the other way, which is from our mood to food. After finishing a massive day, 12-hour shift on your feet, for example, you're wiped out, you're tired, it's been stressful. The kinds of food that you tend to crave at those times aren't usually a light, refreshing salad, for example. We want the salty, the fatty. So there's, it's a bit of a two-way street when it comes to this connection, and it's incredibly fascinating and really exciting stuff, not just for psychologists, but for us, between all human beings as well, because it goes to show there's a lot that we can do and a lot that I guess we can improve to eat better and to feel better too. Yeah,
I think comfort food sometimes when we're not quite feeling it, I think sort of we eat more of it, and as I think moderation's certainly a key. I know personally, outside of food, I decided to become a pilot last year and started studying for the first time in years. And each day, I don't know whether it was boredom, but my diet just went from good food to a quick grab and go, and that which probably wasn't good for my health. And I used to feel it by 6-7 o'clock during a theory session, wanting to fall asleep in my chair.
I bet, and I can understand and can relate absolutely, and I'm sure others can too. And I guess that goes to show as well the impact of healthy, nutritious food, not just on our mood, but on our energy levels and sustaining energy, and the opposite of that as well. When we're going for those quick grab and goes, while they can be convenient and easy, at the same time, I guess they tend to lack nutrition most of the time. They don't tend to sustain us or give us what we're really needing, especially when your brain, is working so hard, studying, processing, taking information. So yeah, it's quite a technical system, I guess, but at the end of the day, we've got to remember our body, it's all one mechanism. One thing influences the other, and we do want it to run as smoothly as it can, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm just going to bring up some slides. So we have our first one here. How about our mood, and does that impact the food we crave and desire?
Yeah, so I guess this comes to the point that, we just opened up with before, and, I do invite people to reflect a little bit on their own food habits and their own kind of cravings. I guess in the past, scientists believed that the brain was the only control center, I guess, of the body. And we've come a long way since then and actually realized just what a crucial role our gut has. So our digestive system, in terms of kind of making decisions for the rest of the body as well, interestingly enough. It has such a vital role that people even refer to the gut as the second brain. So it's more in control than we realize, and it's playing a very, very big role in terms of the rest of how our body functions, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, not only does I guess food have a big impact, eventually on our mood, but like I said before, it does work the other way. And so I'll talk to those points in a bit more detail to help make sense of this.
Yeah.
I guess just looking at this model here as well in front of us, we can get a really good cycle going. And when it's good, it can be really good. It doesn't necessarily mean we've got to make significant changes. I mean, even small changes have a wonderful chain reaction, I guess, and a good flow-on effect, which is good news for us all.
Yeah.
And I guess this goes to show the connection that it has and what I'm talking about, in that good food, and by good food, I mean food that has a high nutritional content that's known to be a good fit for us as human beings and our bodies and what it needs to run off.
Yeah.
It's like putting in that good fuel and getting out a good result. But good food has a positive impact on our gut functioning. And so basically what's actually happening there is that we've got millions of bacteria in our gut, good bacteria and bad bacteria. And in essence, good bacteria likes good food. It's pretty simple, I guess. That good bacteria, we want it to thrive. We need it to be happy and for it to be in a good, for it to be functioning well. And we need as much good bacteria as we can get. Because that good bacteria further breaks down our good food. It derives nutrition from that food, which is that high quality fuel and energy. But furthermore, it has a huge impact on the hormones that we release. It's a gut bacteria that actually is responsible for a lot of the messages that are sent to our brain to direct it to do what? To release feel-good hormones, to help us regulate our stress, to help us combat stress, combat depression as well. And that eventually is also, leads to stabilized mood, or the opposite, unstable mood, and, some mood disorders. So I guess it really does have quite a significant flow-on effect.
I know as a chef, before I started my business, and it did play a bit of a part once I'd started my own business, and being in restaurants, working a 14-hour day, living off coffee, caffeine, energy drinks, and I tell you what, and using those to actually replace eating, and I'd get to 5 o'clock setting up for dinner service and be absolutely shattered. I'd be, my mood would be changing. I wouldn't be feeling as, energetic as what I did in the morning. And so I know exactly how that can play an effect on your mood.
Certainly, absolutely, and that's a really great example. And I welcome us to keep in mind as well, within the hospitality industry, it is traditionally, or tends to be, really fast paced, long hours, high energy. It's rare that we get the opportunity to really sit down and have maybe even a proper kind of lunch break. And also we have to keep in mind that a lot of individuals in this industry are, of course, working during mealtime, right? When we traditionally are sitting down, preparing food, or eating good food as well. So having said that, though, it's an industry as well that is really inspirational. You're working around inspiring chefs, inspiring cooks, people who are passionate about food, and really good food as well. So a lot of benefit that comes from that as well, and from being exposed to that. So I guess, the connection, as I mentioned before, that brain-gut connection, it certainly is a two-way street. So food affects mood, and mood affects the food. Not only the food that we tend to crave, like the example I gave before, after a really tough day, but it also tends to affect our mood in terms of our stress levels, anxiety, depression. research does indicate that it does tend to impact our digestive system and its functioning as well. So it can throw off the balance of that good bacteria that I mentioned before.
Yeah.
It can throw off our digestive system's ability to really to derive and to soak up all that good stuff from the food that we're eating.
Yeah.
Even if we are eating good food, so it kind of throws off that whole system and throws a little bit out of spin, which can be difficult because then we're not getting that full benefit from it either. And we're not getting, you know, and it's not contributing to those feel-good hormones that are being released and our mood that's being stabilized. We're lacking then that defense against stress, and in regulating stress as well. So, and when I'm talking about these feel-good hormones, I'm talking about serotonin and dopamine and that part of it as well. So I guess, you know, when it comes to this system, the fact that it's, I guess, that two-way street, in essence, what it means for us and, you know, what we can do about it is that, I guess, best practice would be, and ideally, it would be great if we could manage both. If we can keep in mind how to improve our mood and also keep in mind how to improve the food that we're ingesting and eating and the decisions that we're making diet-wise.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. It's a big one in our industry.
Yep. So, you know, again, keeping in mind the environment, fast-paced, stressful, but even at the moment, given the implications that are happening due to COVID and the impact it's having on people's, you know, on all of our moods as well, you know, it's a different kind of stress. It might not be as fast-paced as running around in the kitchen or in a restaurant, for example, but we are still feeling stress as well, and our mood is being impacted. So it's something to keep in mind, absolutely. So basically we can tackle this from both sides. And like I said before, that's good news. Altering our diet, of course. And by the way, research indicates that, you know, a helpful diet to keep that gut bacteria happy and feeling good and working well is actually a Mediterranean-based kind of diet. So we're talking about kind of grilled fish, seafood, some light meats, raw vegetables where possible. Colourful is always the key. And that kind of diet is absolutely. And even if it is those quick grab and goes, and if we don't have the opportunity to sit down with a proper meal, having, you know, a clever think about what's something quick and easy that I can grab instead. You know, is it a banana instead of a chocolate bar or whatever else it might be? There might be alternatives. You know, fruit, vegetables, nuts, legumes, they're all good for this brain gut connection. Our lifestyle, our routine, and of course our physical health as well does play a role.
Yeah, definitely. I know when I'm really hungry but sort of don't know what's gonna, you know, fill me up, or, you know, am I gonna feel good after eating it? So I do exactly that. I revert back to just a nice clean salad and some protein, whether it's fish or, you know, just a little bit of chicken or a little bit of meat. And I find that's sort of a very good way for me to eat on a daily basis, and I feel the best when I'm eating that way too.
Wonderful. And, you know, I guess it's that premise of you get out what you put in, so to speak. And I totally acknowledge it's not always easy by any means, especially when we are really craving other foods or feeling like we really need. And on that note, actually, you know, if we are feeling like we're craving salty, fatty, rich foods, at the end of the day, we are built to run off you know, sugars and fats, and there are good sugars and good fats as well. So it's about deriving them from the better places. Let's get them if our body's needing it. You know, if you're running off your feet, if you're busy in your kitchen, if you're pulling those long shifts, your body might need it. It just might need it in a different way. So let's give it that quality fuel. You know, when we're talking about mood as well, and influencing it from that direction, you know, we're acknowledging as well that we're talking about sleep, exercise, relaxation time, and having a bit of a balance across the board. And so we've got to keep in mind as well, you know, if your social life used to get through your workplace setting and that's not really happening at present, then trying our best to Zoom, to catch up on the phone, to do what we can to still remain connected, to keep our mood uplifted, because that's also going to play a big role. Yeah,
definitely. And yeah, so we've got here, utilize mood stabilization and stress management techniques.
Yeah. So Absolutely. So, relying on healthy coping techniques. So, where possible, reducing alcohol consumption, for example, and using other techniques to help us, relax if we need to relax, wind down, etc., or de-stress. So, mood stabilization kind of techniques and healthy coping techniques. It might be some mindfulness based exercises, breathing exercises. There are fantastic apps that you can download for free to help with this. It
Yes.
might mean even chatting to a friend, reaching out, to a colleague. It might mean taking some time out to yourself, or even just exercising to get some of those excess jitters out of your system. So any of those kind of techniques to try and tackle the stress, and tackle the core of it and the mood and restabilize that. And then to see that good flow and effect in terms of how benefiting that can, and also sticking to a healthy diet, can both come together and work really beautifully.
That's some great advice for our viewers out there. Yeah, it's really good. Have you got any other tips which you could potentially give our guests which are viewing today? I know from my side, colourful vegetables have the most antioxidants and the best nutrition in them, and our green vegetables as well.
Yeah. So according to the research, in particular in this area, when we're talking about, keeping that good gut bacteria happy, keeping efficient hormone release of those good hormones that make us feel good and manage stress well and work well with our mood, etc. It is, fresh fruits and vegetables, legumes, seeds, nuts, um, as well as, fiber plays a really big role as well in this too. So I guess my tips are to try and make it enjoyable as well.
Yeah.
Try and find something that works for you. This is flexible. This can be tailored. Every individual is different. People like certain foods more than others, etc. There is such a variety out there. So get testing, get trying. I mean, if anything, a lot of people are getting into their cooking and are reconnecting with a lot of passion there in terms of their food. So, if we're no longer at the moment as surrounded by wonderful chefs and colleagues who are passionate about food, then let's get into our cookbooks if you've got any around. Try and test a few awesome recipes online. Try and make it enjoyable and fun. And
Yeah.
just to remember that, I guess, this can be tackled on both fronts to look after both our mood as well as the food. So not one or the other necessarily, but rather both, and just and maintaining that holistic, I guess, well-being.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I've been going through my collection and that of books and that since COVID's come in, and trying to pick a recipe, a few recipes a week to try out, and it's been really really good. But I guess we've got so many other ways to be able to grab recipes these days. We can jump online, we can Google, different foods, and whether they're good for us, or the nutrition aspect of those foods, and cook them at home. And that definitely seen, I know across all of my networks, how many more people are, cooking at home and sharing that with everybody else. It's been really, really good.
Fantastic. And I think a big part of this as well is about setting up something, if we're trying to make some positive change, it's about setting it up in a way that is sustainable. So we're not talking about just a quick fix where we have one day where we're eating slightly better and then that's that. Ideally, we want this to kind of continue. So let's make it
Yeah.
as easy, as simple, as I guess as quick as it can be. Tends to be the kind of change that lasts for longer as well.
Yeah.
So I really encourage people to get quite savvy about what changes they can make, and how they can stick to them, because that's what's, I guess, best about resetting this system. If you've been on a bit of an unhealthy route, we'll get a new cycle flowing, but it does take a little bit of time. So however easy you can make it for yourself to stick to it, then that's even better. Even if that means pre-cutting up vegetables, they're in the fridge, done. They're already cut, you can just grab them. If it means having a lot of fruit because you just grab it and eat it along the way, if it means pre-packing, getting a bit more organized, any of those things, they can go a long way.
Yeah. And I guess a good way of looking at it, since COVID's come in, we've had, especially a chef's life, or, those that work in the restaurant industry, where we've had all these bad habits for so long. It's a good chance for us to hit the reset switch and, start to create and develop new habits, going forward for once we all go back to work again.
Certainly. And I would really encourage people to think about it that way and to take this in a bit of as a bit of an opportunity somewhat in that regard. It really does create the chance to hit that reset button and see what's going to work for me. What can I implement now that I can also keep up in that different environment and in my working environment when I do go back? That would be wonderful.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us and sharing your knowledge for the first round today, Jessica. Those were some really, really good tips for everyone out there. So that's the first round for today, and we'll catch Jessica again in our next segment, Your Shout, where you at home can have your say. So we'll see you all soon. So we're back for Your Shout for another episode. If you have a question you want answered by one of our professionals, send them through to info@hospoforlife.com.au or send us a direct message on Facebook. Our first question today comes from a hospo worker in New South Wales. I work long days and I don't eat much, but drink a lot of soft drink and coffee all day. At the end of the day, I just feel sick. I don't feel like eating. What are some tips to change those habits?
Yeah, okay. Thank you. That's a very good question, and I'm sure a question that a lot can relate to. So I guess when it comes to caffeine intake throughout the day or even sugary drinks, they tend to give us, I guess, they do give us the feeling and they do spike energy in that moment, but it doesn't tend to be the kind of energy that's sustained and that really keeps us going throughout the duration of a day or for a prolonged period of time. So I guess ideally, what we need to switch those out and reduce caffeine intake. I believe 1 to 2 coffees a day, I believe, is probably a bit of a healthier alternative, but really swapping those out for I guess for more nutritious meals instead. And if it is a matter of grab and go and quick, and not having the opportunity to kind of sit down and prepare, then starting off to set up new habits. My tips are keep it simple, keep it easy, and put in some planning. So have a think about what's realistic, what are you going to be able to stick to, what are you going to be able to change. And breaking habits is really difficult, but a key to it is that bit of preparation and thought process in advance and replacing poor habits with good habits. So every time you might stop for that coffee, instead where the coffee is or where you might stop, if you can place fruit, nuts, alternatives, a sandwich, anything else that you can quickly grab and go instead as a reminder, that would be ideal.
Yeah, thanks for that. So the next question I have as well is from a chef in Victoria. I always thought caffeine and drinking lots of energy drinks would keep me going. I feel like I'm ready to fall in a slump by dinner service. What are some good foods that will give me more energy and feeling less tired?
Great. Yep. So I guess ties in a little bit to my answer to the previous question as well. But research has indicated that foods that will improve energy, but also good for our mood and this brain-gut connection that we've been speaking about, are raw vegetables, ideally, or vegetables and foods that are not that have not been fried. So grilled as a means of cooking or lightly roasted. But basically fruits, vegetables, bright, colourful is the way to go, and a big variation and a nice big mix of colours, and you're pretty much safe to go, as well as some protein, but legumes, I guess wholemeal based carbohydrates as well. And like I mentioned before, I guess nuts and alternatives like that have been recommended as being best.
So for all of you chefs out there in the kitchen, keep your hands out the chip bowl and stop feeding on stuff in the fryer during your shift. It'll make it feel a lot better.
Pretty much. Hard to do. Easier said than done, I acknowledge. But even if you can replace it, if you're keeping yourself more satisfied throughout the day, or even taking breaks when you can and eating something really good, then you might find that you're not leading, craving those chips or needing that quick fix. And I guess that's what we're hoping for, replacing desire and that absolute need sooner than later, so then it doesn't come to having to pick up food throughout the day, or get to the end of your shift completely shattered and wiped.
We can always raid the cold larder section and start picking at salad.
Won't tell anyone.
Well, that's all we've got time for on Your Shout today. Thank you, Jessica, for joining us on the show. If you have those questions, send them through to us at info@Hospo For Life, or direct message us on Facebook, and we'll have them answered on the show. Thanks very much. That's Your Shout for today. Up for last drinks today, we have a very special guest joining us. Chef Adam Moore is a corporate chef, product developer, and leader of the hospitality industry here in Australia. Adam gives back so much to our industry, and it is with absolute pleasure to have you on the show today. How are you, Adam?
Great, Liam. Thank you. It's such an honour to be here.
No, it's an absolute pleasure having you here. So I've got a handful of questions I really want to ask today, because I know you've got an absolutely amazing story. You've been an inspiration to so many, and you've been an inspiration to me through my career as well. So tell me, how did you know you actually wanted to be a chef?
Mate, it's a great question, because I actually was confused. But when I was 13, I actually wanted 3 careers. To go into theatre or drama, which is quite funny for me. Also to become a teacher. But I had this undesirable urge just to cook. And when I did the home economics, I think it was a great time for me too, because it was also the class that I had the most girls. There was no guys. And I just really enjoyed it. And I started studying and just understanding it a bit more. And it really resonated with me. I don't think things like maths really sunk in with me. Religion was boring. All those interesting subjects. And I think I found food to really combine everything in my life, like history and science, all the things I enjoyed in the one career.
Yeah.
And I'm now 26 years in as cooking, and I'm a teacher. I'm doing TV. So I'm kind of doing all my careers that I've ever wanted to do in one career.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think it's like that for quite a lot of us. I know, and that, you know, from my background, I started at, 13, 14, and, it was one of those things. I wasn't good at school either, and I was really, really bad. And that the home economics it was the only class that I actually wanted to show up to each week, and I wagged every other subject. So it was it was good for me to get there and cook. So I kind of knew at that point, well, I think this is going to be my career as well. And here we are, 20 years later.
Yeah.
And, so you've done lots of amazing things across our industry. Across TAFE, across Young Chefs, across the Culinary Federation. Tell us about some of your accomplishments. I bet you've got a lot of them, but I'm sure there's a specific few which you're really proud of.
Well, I love what I do, and I probably the why I do it is I had so many great mentors that looked after my career.
Yeah.
And because of that, I've had so many great accomplishments. I got the commendation, the Order of Australia for community service. That's probably why I do a lot of charity work in my background. I don't advertise that. It's just something that I really enjoy, and that's been part of the career.
Yeah.
I think also that I've been lucky enough to have mentors in my career that I can actually do that for a lot of chefs. And, I've always said, if people aren't tapping me on the shoulder for my job or for what I do, then I'm not doing the right thing. And that is probably to see so many young chefs and people like yourself succeed in their life. It has been probably the greatest accomplishment of my life, is that seeing so many people enjoy what they're doing. And that's what I love hospitality for. And I think if I look at those, I've run restaurants, I've run hotels. I think, I love being on TV because I'm teaching people what I know in my brain, which, just drives me every day. But I think it's the excitement that there are people that are still interested, still want to be a part of, even during COVID now and what the world is now, I've even motivated to find out new courses or understand what's happening. the last few days, you know, in my life, I've actually also changed my diet, and I started exercising, which I've always kind of let go in my world. And I actually, when I was younger, was actually a good swimmer before I was a chef. So I'm trying to change that world now so that I can still be around to keep doing the things I love.
And we need someone like you around. And I think you hit the nail on the head about having a mentor, especially for young chefs. I think having a mentor there really helps us to grow and ask questions that we might not necessarily be able to ask in our job, or you know, with what we're doing on a daily basis. And even just as a friend, to have a friend there with mental health. I know if I have someone to call upon, I can call upon you, like I have done in the past 6 weeks, and it's been an extremely tough time for everybody. What things do you do to keep your mental health on track? Like, you've always been someone which I've gone, wow, he's always so happy. You know, you've always got a big smile on your face, and never really see you down at all. Are there any things which you struggle with your mental health at all on a daily basis?
Yeah, it's a very good question. Look, I do keep up an appearance sometimes, but the industry's hard. I think as I've gotten older, when I see, you know, chefs I know or young chefs that take their own life, that has really taken a big toll on me, and I have to, you know, go and talk about it. To even just hearing about it, it just really kicks you in the guts. And I think that's one thing that really still gets to me. And personally, I take that offline, and I normally will seek help, professional help myself. I've been through, you know, I make it look easy sometimes, but I go through tough days, and I know my days are very different to other people. I've got little, you know, triggers that can help me. So if I'm really in a bad way, I will come and play the vinyl in my office, play music really loudly. I sing really badly, but it's a great release. I'm finding in the last few weeks, exercise has been a new release for me, and I think I should have started on a lot earlier. Also, I read a lot, and you can see lots of books behind me. I've about 6,500 cookbooks in a couple of different rooms in the house, and I continually read. Even if it's a recipe book, I'll look at it and get ideas. And yeah, just these little steps I've been taught by professionals and psychologists to go find a release that gives you that energy to come back in again. And sometimes you have to do that, because when you're an ambassador for something, you can't just be in a bad way. You've got to actually be positive. So I look for the little things to change that.
Yeah, you're a massive ambassador across so many different charities and different groups. What are some of the inspiring things you're working on at the moment during COVID? Because I know you're doing quite a lot still, even though where we're at right now.
Yeah, look, charities for me, I've always had an affiliation to charity since I was young, and I've always done something. You know, before I was 18, I had raised over $2 million in charity from doing cake stores and all that. And it keeps me entertained. It keeps me busy. And I think the reason why I do it is the satisfaction on people's faces when you are doing something, giving back. It's just so rewarding. And, you know, being an ambassador for something like Cure Cancer, this year I've had the opportunity to talk to doctors and professors in a field that I don't understand, but I'm seeing, you know, the work that they are doing, the benefit it is giving so many people that are suffering from a horrible disease like cancer. I think that's probably where we need to, you know, give back once in a while to so many. And unfortunately, during COVID, so many great charities like Food Bank and Oz Harvest and all those actually almost collapsed as well, because they relied so heavily on hospitality. Very much so. Yeah, so we had a really good chat on the phone the other day about today's topic, which we've been discussing, and that's food and mood. I know with myself, food definitely influences my mood. What can you tell us about what you know about
about how food actually affects our moods and what
Well,
we eat during the day, how that can affect us?
really good question, mate, because, you know, and I'll put it to the most simplest terms. Yeah, most of us find frustration and moments of stress each day. Stress spelt backwards is desserts. And what do we do when we're stressed? We seem to eat. And it's quite interesting. I'm definitely an advocate in that space. Normally 2-3 o'clock, if I've had a big day of meetings or, you know, a day that was pretty average, I go for chocolate or something sweet. Most people will go for either sweet or something that's high in saturated fats, you know, like chips and, you know, sauce and melted cheese, the things that we make us feel good. And it's interesting, there is proof at the moment, and there's lots of research around there, that comfort foods actually do release and reduce the stress factor, but it's for moments of time. So it's short periods.
Yeah.
If you continue to have a diet in high saturated fats and lots of sugars, it has a negative impact on the brain in the long term.
Yeah.
So, you know, looking at what you're doing, and it's not about, oh, you need to go all eat green vegetables and live off that for the rest of your life. It's about making choices.
Yeah.
I always had a boss that used to say, why are you eating that? And she used to say, instead of return on investment, because I worked for corporate companies, she used to say ROC, which was return on crap. If you're going to eat crap, buy the best crap possible. So if you're getting for dairy milk, why don't you go for Lindt? Because you're going to get, you know, better quality product and you enjoy it, then you can move on. And I think if you look at that aspect, there's lots of different ways you can do. And interesting, one of the studies I did, I love creating stuff, and I really got into kombucha. And the more I did some study on kombucha was really good for gut health, and it is really good if you drink it regularly.
Yeah.
And gut health helps the microbials in your system. What that does is, when you've got good gut health and positive gut health, it actually helps the brain to think positively.
It does.
And it's really interesting to see that synergy, that, you know, having a good diet, looking after yourself, and going to the gym, or going for exercise. And I found this in the last 2 weeks. You know, I've really gotten into exercise. I've been riding my bike, getting up at 5:30. I never had that energy. Yeah. Come by 8 o'clock, I'm going, oh, is the day over? I need to understand what else, you know, what I'm doing. And I found this bit of adrenaline that I miss from kitchens in exercise.
Yeah.
And I think, you know, also changing my diet, because, you know, the first couple of weeks of COVID, you know, you go to the pantry, you eat this, you eat that.
Oh, it's eating out of boredom, I think.
Correct. But now that I'm actually trying to, you know, eat healthier and look at what there is, there's proof that, you know, green or really bright vegetables, they have a lot more antioxidants, and antioxidants also help us reduce stress. So if you do a combination of things, permit yourself to have, you know, that bad day and have that chocolate bar, return on crap, find the better one. But at the same time, try and put some more vegetables or, you know, whole grains into your system that will give you the serotonin, which is the happy drug, the happy chemical that we need in our bodies to keep going.
Yeah.
And I think if people make small changes, it makes a big difference. And it's interesting. Coffee. Everyone loves coffee. Coffee is technically a depressant and a stimulant. And, you know, I'm not going to get rid of coffee because it also makes me happy.
Yeah.
So, but what I have done, I've gone from 12 cups of coffee to probably 1 cup of coffee a day. So I'm still permitting myself to have something. I'm not going to get rid of it completely, because I think that will be a bad world if I did.
I think a lot of chefs in our industry, they really feed off drinking coffee or having caffeine to get through their day. I know when I'm on the road doing business sometimes, and that, especially when I'm interstate, I'll book in meetings at, you know, a handful of different coffee shops, and by 1-2 o'clock, I've had about 6 or 7 cups of coffee, and I'm ready to fall asleep by, you know, mid-afternoon and ready to crash. it really affects you the more that you actually have.
Yeah, and I think, any diet that you have that's high in saturated fats and high in refined sugars, you do get that instant release. It does help stress, but at the same time, it's also affecting your health.
Yeah.
And that does put you into a different mental state. Now, I'm no expert in that space, but I know that people with diabetes, for example, actually tend to be more into a depressive state because their body is out of whack. And there is lots of case studies on diets. Heart Organization talks about saturated fats and the effect on the brain as well as the heart.
Yeah.
So, there's a balance that we need to find.
Yeah.
I don't want people just to change their whole world, but make the changes. And there is so many great, you can get so many foods delivered to you where it's already pre-portioned. Still enjoy. Don't not promise yourself to have that thing that you enjoy. If it's, your vice and you go to it, still enjoy it, but also look at it in moderation.
Yeah. Moderation's the big word, I think. And that you do too much of one thing, you're going to have an adverse effect. If you do everything in moderation, it works just perfectly. I think our last question for today is one which I know that you'll answer really well. And that's what inspiration can we give our younger generation of chefs at the moment? Because I feel for quite a lot of them, especially those which may be studying or those which, are living out of home or here as a student from overseas and haven't got probably a lot of positivity in their life right now, and their world's completely turned upside down and not working. So what inspiration can we give them for the future, for once we get out of COVID?
Mate, I think, to be honest, and I'm going to look at it differently, COVID is a gift that we all probably needed right now. This is a chance to reset. How many times has anyone had a chance to really reset their whole proposition of life? We're all in this together. So it's not just affecting you, it's affecting everyone. Yes, there's bills to pay, there's all that. But what a chance to learn a skill that you haven't learnt. This is a chance to be re-inspired. This is a chance to look at where, were you comfortable in what you were doing? Were you happy in what you were doing? This is a chance to also change that. And I think if you're coming through this industry and you're worried about the future, I still think hospitality and the food industry is a future-proofed industry, because a robot really can't taste or season. We're always going to need food around us. So if you can learn that skill set, and, I've done many skills in my life. I'm a qualified butcher, pastry chef. I've done charcuterie, study of small goods. But there's skills I don't know. I'm not very good at chocolate making. So right now, I'm taking this time to understand the principles of chocolate. Yes, I know how to make it, but I'm not very good at the chocolate skills or chocolate molding. So looking at a simple skill. And I think also this is the time to reflect on, am I doing the right job? Am I getting what I want out of the job? Or, my teacher said, or my career advisor said, being a chef, there's only one role. You have to have a restaurant. Well, I'm proof that you can be multiple different facets of the industry that are untouched. And you're proof too, Liam, that you can do different parts of your career and adapt. You can change. If something's not working, change it. If your menu was not good before, this is a chance to test it out and reinvigorate what you're doing. You've got a moment in time where we're all going through the same thing. We've got lots of courses online that are free for the first time ever. There's also lots of opportunities to do webinars and seminars similar to this. And just a chance to look at yourself and evaluate what's important to you. Is family the most important? Well, if that is, then what's the role that's going to be ideal for you? If exercise is important, how about combining, doing a nutrition degree and becoming a chef that's got a nutrition background?
That's right.
Or if you really love the science and the molecular, why don't you study what Heston or Professor Hervé Thies have done in their past and learn that science degree. This is a chance to reset, reinvigorate, and change your life. You don't get these moments in time like this.
100%. I couldn't agree with you anymore. And you know, it was a big shock when things happened, and I don't think a lot of us, I know personally myself, I haven't ever seen something like this in my lifetime. So, you know,
and you adapted too. You actually, you know, looked at your life and went, "Whoa, what's happening?
Yeah.
All my business has gone overnight. What do I need to do?" And you actually changed your mentality of where you're going, and you know, look where you are now.
100%.
Massive difference, mate.
Big difference. Well, that's all we've got time for on today's show. I'd like to thank you for joining us, Adam, on Last Drinks, and I really feel our viewers really get a lot from what we've just spoken about today. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Liam. It's such an honour, and keep up the great work that you're doing with this program.
Certainly we will. Thanks very much, Adam.
Thanks, mate.
What a great episode of Hospo Happy Hour that was today. A big thank you to Jessica and Adam for joining me on the show this afternoon. We have another fabulous lineup planned for you all tomorrow, and we'll be joined by Tom Warner, the CEO and founder of Warner's Gin, who are proudly supporting Hospo Happy Hour. Each episode of Hospo Happy Hour is supported with $5 from every bottle of Warner's Gin sold in Dan Murphy's. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Remember to stay strong, stay healthy, and stay united in spirit to create a change for a healthier industry. I'm Chef Liam Crawley. Stay safe and have a great night.